It's that time of the week to return to my power rankings and update them following last week's fixtures ahead of the Atlanta homestand weekend in a few days' time. The most recent matches were on the whole an interesting watch and have given me quite a lot to digest before compiling my rankings together, so let's get straight into it. The teams that can be found inside the bottom 5 are largely unchanged from last week, as the Florida Mayhem fall twice to 20, the Washington Justice remain yet again at 19, the Toronto Defiant propel themselves from last to 18, up 2 spots. At 17 remain the Dallas Fuel for another week, as we finally see a returning entry in at 16 with the Guangzhou Charge falling 1 position. I hope Florida enjoyed their brief holiday off the bottom of my rankings, as they returned to normal this week by being convincingly destroyed by the Spark. Of course, this was a result that was entirely expected. It's one of the best teams in the league right now, but the team still has many obvious problems, which their new signings that did see some playtime will not fix immediately. And with Houston continuing to drop off in performance, I've returned the Mayhem to their familiar home. Washington, meanwhile, once again competed with the Outlaws, could only pick up a draw, with the side once again failing to capitalise on their improving performances and pick up more map wins, so I see no need to move them. Toronto, however, have swapped with Florida after the changes they've made this week, and the performances that followed. Twitter went into a frenzy as the Defiant announced the signings of Mangachu and Mr. Logics, and whilst they unsurprisingly were picked apart by the Gladiators, they look so much better running DPS comps into Houston, and for half of the series, if not more, they look the much stronger side, showing this decision to transition towards the full Western roster is gaining some traction and momentum, which is crucial for them with a weaker strength of schedule coming in Stage 4. As much as their performance warranted a rise from Dallas this week, in the end I couldn't justify moving them above for teams above them, after they threw away a brilliant opportunity for a massive upset, as they were then reverse swept by the New York Excelsior. Timely's inclusion was extremely impactful, with his DPS and Sombra looking really refined and sound, as the Fuel looked a lot better on their DPS comps, and a far cry from the mess they have been so far this stage. That said, there's still a lot of issues, as shown in how New York got back into the series, and with the Excelsior struggling lately, I don't think I'm comfortable moving Dallas out of the bottom 5 just yet. Again, like last week though, the Guangzhou Charge are clearly a tier above the teams below them, but drop here due to Chengdu's rise. Hopper and the rest of the side have been playing decently, and at times troubled the Dragons, a strong side. But something still isn't clicking with an incredibly talented side, with results lacking to back up what have been consistently decent showings. Moving on to the teams grouped from 15 to 11, that round out the bottom half of my rankings, have the Paris Eternal down 1 to 15. The Houston Outlaws drop again 2 times to 14. The Atlanta Reign slip 2 spaces lower to 13. The Boston Uprising, however, rise again 1 place to 12. And at 11 is the Chengdu Hunters, who are the big moves of this week, up 5 spots. It might seem harsh for Paris to be this low, as yet again they put up a competitive display against another strong side. But after an impressive start to the stage, the momentum has appeared to have petered out, as teams around them have been improving more and picking up results at the same time, as their early Stage 3 aspirations have now been firmly kicked into the dirt. Houston, meanwhile, are perhaps an even more surprising fall, despite picking up 2 wins this week. But following on from their miserable loss to the Mayhem the week before, they continue to underwhelm and underperform against a further 2 weak sides, in the Justice and Defiant, with the team finding less success on their Sombra and EPS comps, especially in mirror matchups. Yes, they eventually found their footing and booked their stage playoff ticket, but right now, they are in my eyes the worst team heading into these playoffs, so they need to fix themselves up with their week off if they want to truly compete. Atlanta didn't play, and their homestand fixtures now mean so much more, with major implications on their standings position. They look to finally convert their great performances into victories, and their fall is only because of the team's rise. Boston again ran Philly super close, this time going to a 5th map, where at times they looked like they would come out on top. They seem far more comfortable on their DPS and Hackfist comps, with Blase and Fusions really playing well, which has set a great foundation on which they can now build on heading into Stage 4, and I think they deserved a small rise in my rankings. But the biggest risers, as I've already mentioned, are Chengdu, who are outstanding this week. They completely caught the shock off guard with a great DPS performance, alongside Armin having a fantastic series as he boomed super, helping the Hunters achieve the win in 5 maps for a major upset. Then against Seoul, as I already mentioned, they were by far the better side for the majority of the match, and they were really unlucky in the end not to get more out of the series. As usual with Chengdu though, it's their inconsistency that prevents me from putting them any higher, as one week they'll beat and compete with the absolute best, and then the next they'll look awful against weaker sides, and this needs to be addressed moving forward to assure that they can make a top 12 placing at the end of the season. Entering my top 10, and we can see that there's little change in those I have ranked from 10 to 6, and those from 10 to 7 being unmoved. The Philadelphia Fusion at 10, London Spitfire at 9, LA Gladiators at 8, and Shanghai Dragons at 7. With the one change coming in at number 6, with the Seoul Dynasty falling one position. It was kind of a mixed bag all round, with the Fusion, Gladiators and Dragons beating sides that I have ranked below them. Whilst then, London were then dumpstered alongside LA in their other match against teams ranked right at the top. Therefore, I find it difficult to really move any of these teams around, with all of them at face value clearly stronger than the teams below them, but right now not at all near to competing with the very best at the top, with only Shanghai of these teams actually looking like qualifying for the Stage 3 playoffs, unless they fall apart next week. Seoul meanwhile did pick up 2 wins they needed to secure their own Stage 3 playoff place, but both in their series against Paris, and more obviously against Chengdu, they look messy and sloppy, often relying on their highest skill to win crucial final teamfights. The Dynasty is such a difficult team to get a read on, as one second they can compete with the very best, and the next they can play down to their competition and flukily scrape through, which is why I can't have them as a top 5 team right now. And speaking of the top 5, it's here that we can see a lot of movement, with teams being jumbled around. Replacing Seoul at 5 is the LA Valiant after moving up one position. At 4, I have the New York Excelsior down 2 spots. The San Francisco Shock take 3rd place, down the 2 also, as the Hangzhou Spark break into the top placings at 2, up 2 themselves. But it's the Vancouver Titans who have returned for Summit, again after shifting up twice to the coveted number 1 position. The Valiant took care of business this week by destroying the London Spitfire, after narrowly being edged out by the Spark at the beginning of this week. The trio of Fact Fiction, Creve and Shax were again superb, as this team has shown it can really compete with the best, and potentially we should have even beaten Hangzhou, but definitely they are a dark horse come the playoffs. New York remain unbeaten, but I've dropped them after 2 consecutive poor performances against average or worse sides. Against Dallas, they looked off the pace early, with their Sombra Goats being really messy, and it was very fortunate in the end they were able to pull off the reverse sweep. But unlike the others around them, I don't think they've actually looked that strong, and have arguably ridden a far easier schedule towards what is looking like an undefeated stage, which is why I have them this low. Like the Valiant, San Francisco decimated London at the end of this week, but they unsurprisingly fall after their dismal loss to the Hunters. It looked like old wounds reopened in this series, and it is clear that a definitive blueprint has been laid out on how to defeat them after their 2 losses to similar styles this stage. On the flip side, I think it's finally time that Hangzhou receives stronger credit and respect, as unlike the 2 sides below them, they've kept a consistently strong level throughout the stage. From GOAT to DPS they look strong, and although there were some shaky moments against LA, at other times they perfectly managed to shut down Shax and Karif, which if repeated come Stage 3 playoffs against other sides, could lead them to achieve more success. On the throne, however, is the Vancouver Titans, after they picked apart the Gladiators. Of course we need to wait till the playoffs to know if this is their true level, but within a week of their first regular season loss, it appears they've re-evaluated themselves and downloaded the meta with Stitch on Sombra, which if perfected, as it looks like they have, truly makes them a dangerous and scary side for the whole league to fear heading into the playoffs moving forward. And with that, we've reached the end of my Stage 3 Week 4 power rankings, and I'd like to thank you for watching. By the looks of things, I'll be returning tomorrow with my Who Makes Team Canada video, as they're storming the vote I put out. Otherwise, if you enjoyed and don't want to miss out, please like, subscribe and follow me on Twitter for this continuing Overwatch League coverage and content, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.